Okay, so in the previous video, I spoke about the compile script, and now I'm going to start writing it out inside my compile.js file here. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and start. And remember, these are what I installed via npm, which is the path. So Solidity. And FS. This FS is not just your regular FS, but this is FS extra. All right, now in the past I was working with the FS module. This is a part of the Node standard library, and it's short for file system, and it gives me access to the file system on my local computer. I'm not using FS this time. I'm using a community-made module called FS extra. It's similar to the FS module, but it has a couple of extra functions tied to it. It's an improved version to the FS module, and this will save us time as we start writing code to this file. So inside of here, the first thing I'm going to do is start putting together the logic to delete the entire build folder if it already exists. Now, right now it doesn't exist, but I'm going to be creating it. So the first thing I have to do is build the path to this folder. I want to get a reference to that build folder, and I'm going to use the path module here along with the resolve method on it, and I'm going to do it like so. So go ahead and start that. Const build path, and that's going to be path.resolve, and the first argument is going to be the file name or the directory name, and the actual name is a string of build. So with this reference to the build directory, I could call a function on the FS module to remove the entire directory and everything inside of it. And I'll do that like so, remove sync, and we're removing build path. Remove sync is one of the extra functions included in the FS extra module. The default or standard file module that is included with Node does not have the ability to remove a file and folder in a single command. So remove sync looks at the folder and deletes it and everything inside of it. Next step, I need to read the campaign.sol, this file here. I need to be able to read that from the contracts folder. And so that's going to look like the following. So I'm going to do const campaign path, and I'm going to say path.resolve, and again their name, and then contracts for the name of the folder. Okay, oops, I almost forgot one more. So it's contracts the folder, but then we have to grab the name of the actual file. Okay, so next I'm going to read in the source code to that file, and that's going to look like the following. Say const source fs read file sync, and that's going to be campaign path and UTF-8. So I passed in the campaign path, right, and specified the encoding of the file, which is UTF-8. All right, so I now have the contents of the campaign file. Next, the Solidity compiler will be used to compile everything in this file. And let's see, that's going to look like, all right, so take a look at this. All right, so I need to read the source code to that file, actually. And so I have to do output, sol C, compile, source, and 1. So the only property I care about is the contracts property. So I'll pull off the contracts property and assign it output. Okay. All right. I said contracts, so I need to chain on contracts. All right, so the output variable contains two separate objects. One object is the output from compiling the campaign contract, and the other is the campaign factory. So I will loop over it and write out the contents to two separate files. But first I need to ensure I create the build directory because I have deleted this folder. So now I have to recreate it. All right. So to do that, we'll do fs dot ensure dir sync and pass in build path. Okay, so ensure dir sync checks to see if a directory exists, and if not, the function will create it for me. So last thing I need to do is loop over this output object, take each contract and write it to a different file inside of my build directory. So that's going to be a bit more complex. So I'm going to write out the code first and then talk about what it's doing. So for there's going to be a for in loop. So it's not going to be var let contract in, and the object is output. All right, so then I'm going to call a function off the fs module like so. So I don't need this if in there. So just fs output JSON sync. Okay. And all right, so I'm going to pass output JSON sync two separate arguments that are going to be a bit long. So this is why I'm giving myself some space to type. And it's going to look like so. Path.resolve. So the first argument is build path. Second argument is going to be a concatenation of contract plus the JSON extension that I will add to it. And then the output object index of contract. Okay, so I'm going to save that. So I know this is a bit nasty looking, so let's run this script to verify it works. And then I'll talk about what this for loop is doing for me. And I'll also console log some steps to get a better idea of what's going on. So I head over to the terminal. All right, so back in my terminal in here, there's a lot going on. So let me just clean that up. I'm not in there, I'm actually in my, sorry, I am in this project. It's early in the morning and I've been working on a couple of projects. So anyway, inside of here, I'm going to run node. Well, no, I knew I did have to do something. I have to cd into the Ethereum folder. And now I can run node compile.js. And with any luck, I should get kicked right back to the command line. But instead, I'm getting, I am getting this assertion error. Why am I getting an assertion error? That's odd. Why am I getting an assertion error? I think perhaps I need to build the folder first. What if I ran, I'm gonna go ahead and create the build folder. And then I'll try running this again. No, I'm still getting that. So I'm getting a invalid callback specified error assertion. I've got to admit, I'm actually surprised I'm getting this error so quickly. I was expecting to just get kicked back to the command line, and then going over to the code editor, I should have been able to see my build directory and have the two JSON files. So let me take a look at what's going on here. All right, guys. So I quickly had to Google basically this assertion error. I would have. Sometimes I Google stuff while still recording, but this was a really, really unexpected error. Um, and I knew it wasn't something that I looked at through my code. My code was well written. There was no syntax errors. It was quite the unexpected error. So when that happens, and you have enough experience as I do, and you know it's an error that's out of left field, that's when you kind of look it up. You start Googling it. And so I Googled it, and unfortunately, what's going on is Solidity has introduced some breaking changes. And that's really annoying, right? Because you never know, especially if you're relatively new in the world of programming, you never know, like, is it me? Did I not cross a T or dot an I? But that's why, you go through the process of looking through your code carefully. And then, once you've exhausted what you think you may have done wrong, then you say, okay, well, maybe there's something that's out of my control that happened here. And that's, the downside to working with all these libraries. And so in researching this error with Solidity, I found out that Solidity has made some breaking changes. And this is why we're getting this nonsensical assertion error here. So what I'm going to do now to resolve this is npm uninstall. Actually, let's do this. Let me clean this up and then do npm uninstall solc for Solidity. So I'm going to go ahead and remove Solidity, the current version that I installed, and then I'm going to paste this very specific version. Now, it actually, now that I think about it, and I'm looking at this version, this is the version that I'm using in my Remix code editor. So really, it's back on me. I probably should have installed this very particular version instead of just Solidity in general, because when you just install Solidity, it'll give you the current version. And 0.4.17 is not necessarily the current version at all. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and install this version, hit enter. And I should be good. And now, when I run node compile.js, and it should kick me right back to the terminal eventually. See, now that's the expected behavior. And so now, if I go back to my code editor, you'll see, sure enough, we have this build folder. Not only do we have the build folder, but as expected, inside, there are 2 JSON files. Now notice the colons in front of each file name. I'm going to fix that in just a second. So in a subsequent video, I'm going to break down this for loop that I did here, that I created here, what it means and what it did. All right, I'll see you soon.